Good morning. So I've come out this morning for a little wander. Just sat on a shark. Sat on a wooden shark at the park. Listening to the birds and the wind. And as I've spent a fair bit of time trying to process and sit with something that had happened in the pre-op appointment. You know, sometimes things can take a little bit of time to process, to sit with, to really try and understand. Because you think, is this some form of crazy self-sabotage? Am I doing the right thing? Like, what's really going on underneath all this stuff? Am I acting out of fear? So the question that was asked is, would I take blood? Would I accept a blood transfusion? And I instantly, without thinking about it, I said no. I'm not 100% sure why at the time, and I thought, well, actually, because I'm not a practicing Jehovah's Witness, I do believe in a lot of the stuff said and shared at a level by the Jehovah's Witnesses. But that's not what it is. So I was thinking after, because I knew that I wouldn't accept blood, and then afterwards I was thinking, well, why was it that I said no? Because it was an instant, it wasn't a thought about, it was an instant no, I will not. And thinking about things, I realised how important for me my blood is. You know, I don't take anything. I'm really careful what I put on and into my body. So I don't want something in my body that isn't natural or created by it, or that I'd feel isn't some kind of poison. So I'm really careful in what I eat and what I drink. I try to be very mindful in what I say and do, you know. And I was thinking about what's the karma of the choice, you know. I realised that since the vaccination thing, and I don't mean all vaccinations, you know, my mum had me vaccinated for just about everything that there was possible as a kid. But when I got older and able to make my own conscious choices, I realised I didn't want that. You know, I don't like chemicals, I don't like taking medication, I don't like chemicals, I don't like that kind of thing. So it was, to me, important to think, well, what do I want? And am I happy with something? I didn't really look into anything at that point. I just knew that I didn't want it. I didn't really know 100% why. And I just knew it didn't feel right, and that's where I should go with that. And with the whole COVID vaccination thing, I know that caused a lot of separation between people. So many people pushed apart by their personal choices as to whether or not they wanted an injection that had never really been trialled on something that they hadn't got years of experience with. It was all just as and when, and they all decided to choose what to do. And a lot of people chose what to do because they were told if they didn't do it, they'd lose their job, things like that. I know some of my friends did choose to have it, and I just figure it's personal choice. Like, just because someone else chooses something doesn't mean to say I have to do it too. And I'm okay with that. And some of my friends were okay with that. And I've always been pro-choice, so it's all about what does a person want to do to honour their body. It's not been a case of, well, I think this, so, I think you're wrong, because that in itself would not be fair, because who am I to judge what goes on in anyone else's body? It's hard enough judging what's right for your own body. So I was sitting, just allowing it a bit more. And I realised that I have a deep fear of accepting something that I know's in the blood. They say it isn't in the blood, but if something goes into you, and then continues to stay with you, it's likely to be carried around in your bloodstream like just about anything is, and it'll be there for whatever. Now, I think the way that looking at the vaccination thing, that apparently seems that people put something into their blood and it kind of hangs about, but it doesn't seem to do what it was meant to do, which is to stop it, and it can reduce it depending on what statistics, and it just doesn't seem like it's been a fair scientific test. It seems like it's missing the whole fair scientific test of what's right. It's not got all the right things. They kick people out of tests for all sorts of reasons, and then that's not included in the last final numbers. So it seems like bollocks to me. It just doesn't seem like it's logical, fair, reasonable, or even an accurate test or some accurate mathematics of giving it some kind of results. But watching, as a person, just watching to say, thinking that I didn't rule out a vaccine. I just thought, for me right now, I'm going to not have it. I'm not interested in it, but I'm interested in how other people are with it. And I watched, and I wasn't really following the science for a while, and then I jumped into the science and was looking at that, and then I jumped back out, and I was just watching it as a kind of from afar, and I was noticing the differences. And I noticed that when all these vaccinated people were travelling, because they were told once they were vaccinated, they could travel wherever they want without anything other than a certificate to say they've been vaccinated. These people were travelling and taking the thing with them. So I figured that was bollocks too, and it was some weird thing where people were having passports to travel with what they were trying to avoid spreading, which made absolutely no logical reason why it should be had. So I insisted on not continuing to not have it. And I saw people get ill afterwards, and I saw people that are usually really well get ill. I've seen many bits and pieces, and people sharing things, and people getting stopped for sharing their truth for what had happened to them in their personal experience. And I was looking at the WHO, and I did a couple of courses with the World Health Organization, because I just wanted to know what they had to say and see what it was. And I did a couple of courses, and I was watching what was happening on the feedback. And I realised that there's a lot of stuff not being shared that should have been shared, because people have got a right to make an informed choice, and to make an informed choice you have to have all the information. So currently, I still think there isn't enough information out there to make an informed choice. And there's all sorts of assumptions based on guesses and based on statistics that aren't right as to what's actually happening longer term to people with this in their bodies. So I don't want it in my body, even if it's come into my body from someone else's blood that's been put into me in a blood transfusion, which may or may not possibly happen. And therefore, I'm adamant that my choice, including whether or not it kills me, or is the cause of the death of me because I've refused it, is why I choose to refuse a blood transfusion. It's nothing to do with conspiracy theories, it's nothing to do with science, it's the lack of science actually. It's the lack of the people not being able to make a choice about something. I mean, there's certain things that really don't matter about blood. It doesn't matter what colour you are, it doesn't matter where you are around the world, it doesn't matter on religion. When anything like that makes no difference to what the blood is going around your body. What does make a difference is how you choose to honour your body, and I don't know that. I don't know how these people choose to honour their bodies. Maybe they smoke, maybe they don't. Maybe they make other choices that I don't personally make. Is there a choice of being able to give your own blood and have it stored and have it if it's needed? No, apparently there's not, from what I can gather. You can't say, well, I'll give my blood now. You can't have you and your mates with the same blood type giving you the blood or on standby, because that's just not done either. So you've got a choice, which is take it or leave it. And I think that's unfair, because it just doesn't seem right that people who have been made decisions for their own personal reasons, whatever they may be, it's their truth, are forced then to choose between a potential life-saving stuff and violating their own bodies to receive the life, because that's what I class it as. I put it akin to an absolute violation of my body. I honour my body to the best of my ability, and that means that I'm really careful of what I do with it, and I try and look after it to the best of my ability. I'm not saying I'm perfect, no one else has to agree with what I do. It's just my personal choice. So I think it's really important we look at how people honour their own bodies, and we look at this, it's global, and there's been parents who've had their children taken away for their own belief systems, and that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. The fact that people think they're so right that they've got a reason to take away someone's child when their believing the child's life could also depend on, or future life may depend on what they're putting into them at that young age. So regardless of the science, because the science does look like you shouldn't be vaccinating anyone under the age of 65 years old based on the majority of things globally, then the fact that it's getting forced into babies and children and people who are old enough to give birth or get pregnant or help, contribute, make, men and women. They takes two sides to create a new life and birth a life into being. Although the woman does the actual giving birth, it still takes a lot from the male to take a part in that. Or many men do want to be an actual conscious, aware part of bringing and birthing life into the world to the best of their ability, and they make amazing dads. So it's interesting to see how people are so caught up in what they think's right for them that they think they should push that on other people. So for me, I've made my choice, and I've made it clear, and it's in my notes. I'm going to also add it into my living will, and I've made this video, and that's what's important to me. But I ask you all to contemplate if this choice of mine doesn't sit well with you, or thinking about it doesn't sit well with you, that's perfectly okay. But I invite you to sit with why. Why is it that you feel triggered or activated by my choice? And as not many of you will be doctors or have the science of all this, and not many of us do. Even the people in the medical health profession don't have the science to back up half of the stuff, more than half of the stuff that's out there. It'd be interesting to know, how do you actually feel when you take away fear? What's left? You know, what do you feel is right to honour your body? So with that, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna have my morning walk and go back for breakfast. Big loves.